Welcome to Pac West Magazine, the radio show. The show about our exciting Pacific West Conference. The Pac West is made up of NCAA Division II universities from Arizona and Utah to California and Hawaii. It's the most beautiful and diverse athletic conference in the entire NCAA. This is Commissioner Bob Hogue, inviting you to join our outstanding coaches, student athletes, and administrators as we talk about the great excitement in the Pac West. Now here's Assistant Commissioner Tom DiCamillo, live from our studios in Santan, Arizona.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning if you're in Hawaii. Tom DiCamillo, Joe Carrero. This is Pac West Radio. We are live in the Santan Valley. And today we were in the midst of our awards month, and we were going to do our tennis awards. We're actually moving everything back a week for tennis and then track and field. The reason is the Grand Canyon University baseball team did a tremendous job this past weekend. The Antelopes won the NCAA Division II West Regional. They actually had to win their last 3 games in a row. They had lost a game to Chico State and then beat Sonoma, came back to beat Sonoma, and then actually had to beat Chico State twice on Sunday. Chico had to win just one to get the automatic berth, to get the berth into the NCAA Division II National Championship, the D2 World Series, for lack of a better term, in Cary, North Carolina. That's going to take place starting Saturday. The Antelopes play on Sunday. Today we're going to talk to Jim Givens. He's the Division II chair for NCAA Division II baseball chair, and we're going to talk to him about the Division II baseball tournament. And then later in the show we're going to have Keith Baker on, the athletic director at Grand Canyon University. This is Grand Canyon's. This will be their final sport, Joe, in the Pac West baseball, because they're moving to Division I, and they're moving. We wish them the best of luck. But before we get to Jim and have you dial him up, we got inundated with calls here in the last 15 minutes of listeners, and I just kind of want to give a couple shout outs and appreciate where people are listening and calling about the Pac West show. First of all, Pac West Radio is brought to you live on KQCK in Santan Valley, Arizona, and in Jaco Beach, Costa Rica. And that's where we're located in both spots. And we actually had Veronica, who's on the beach eating lunch, listening to Pac West Radio on Jaco Beach. So Veronica, I hope the lunch is good. Joe was there not too long ago setting up the station, and he said the seafood was terrific.
Fantastic.
Every day.
Can't go wrong with that.
So Veronica, thanks for listening to Pac West Radio. For those listening for the first time, Pacific West Conference is an NCAA Division II athletic conference, 14 colleges and universities located throughout the western region, 4 in Hawaii, 8 in California, 1 in Utah, and then at least for another month and a half, Grand Canyon here in Phoenix. Also, a couple of shout outs to Paul, who is driving in Rhode Island, that read an article about the station, is listening to the program. So Paul, me being from the Northeast originally and spending a lot of time on Cape Cod where my in-laws live, very familiar with the area. I know he's listening to the show. We appreciate it. Mary Ellen from St. Petersburg, Florida, called up, wanted to know what the Pac West Radio show was about this week. She's listening. Janelle from Carson City, Nevada, also listening. Janelle and Mary Ellen, we thank you for listening. Keith up in Park City, Utah, tuning into the show today, and we're really glad. I mean, you can see the diversity of where our listeners are from. We also had a couple calls from Hawaii. They didn't leave their names, but we know they're listening there. And then just a kind of a special shout out, and we don't know these people, so this is unsolicited, but Susie from Boise, Idaho gave us a call. She wants to give a shout out. She's listening to the program, loves the program, and wants to give a shout out to her daughter Tina, who is having her 16th birthday. We don't know if Tina is a student athlete or not, but the Pac West is always a great place to come to play. And I do want to mention, Joe, and I'll tie this to baseball in our show today, is this past Sunday was my 23rd wedding anniversary. And my wife and I, actually, our first date was at a Phillies San Francisco Giants game. And somebody actually sent me the box score from the game. And the reason I bring this up is that Rick Ruschel was pitching the game, and he was pitching a no-hitter late into the 7th inning, and we were kind of talking and not even paying attention. And then one of the Phillies, Tommy Herr, got a base hit, was thrown out trying to stretch a single into a double, was thrown out, and they ended up not getting another hit. And as much as I'm a Phillies fan, I would have liked to seen a no-hitter because everybody booed in Philadelphia when the Phillies got a hit. They were terrible back then anyway. So shout out to my wife, 23 years of marriage, and we've been together 24 years. And she's my biggest fan. I go home, Joe, and I sign autographs for her after the show. So
keeps you sharp.
And I'll pay for that when I go home. I know. So, but anyway, we're going to get Jim Givens on from the NCAA. Joe's going to call him up now. And Grand Canyon University, again, they'll be starting at the NCAA Division II championship for baseball. It's 8 teams or 8 regions, and the 8 regional champions are now forwarding to the national tournament, and it's split into 2 brackets, and the teams will start. This is really a week-long event. They don't play more than typically 1 game in a day unless weather kind of comes into a factor. So what's a really nice thing is that it's a double elimination tournament, and I had the privilege of being involved with it a couple of years ago. So even if you lose the first day, you get there 2 days before the event starts. Even if you lose the first day, you don't play again for another 2 days. So the athletes have the experience of being in that atmosphere for at least 4 days. When I was at Westchester actually won the second game, so we actually were there for almost a week by the time we actually were eliminated and went home, about 6 or 7 days. So it was a tremendous experience. It used to be held in Montgomery, Alabama, and now it's at Cary, North Carolina. And it's just a terrific. It's one of my favorite NCAA championships at the Division II level. And joining us now is Jim Givens, the chair of the NCAA Division II Baseball Committee. He's also Associate Athletic Director at the University of Findlay in Ohio. Jim, thanks for joining Pac West Radio.
No, hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Jim, let's talk about, we're going to talk with Keith Baker, the AD at Grand Canyon, a little bit later in the program. I had a privilege when I was at Westchester to be involved in this championship. But can you kind of describe for fans, it really is, for Division II, it's just a great atmosphere to be able to participate in this tournament.
Yeah, Tom, it's what we all play for. I think Division II sometimes is criticized because of regionalization and the process of how they do it. But given the philosophy of Division II, I think it's the right thing. It's very difficult for us as a committee, but we certainly do our due diligence, and we really enjoy it. And it's a bunch of guys that the committee's made up of administrators and coaches, and they spend a lot of time with us, and this is important. And this is a great venue, a great city, most importantly, great people. And it truly has turned into an event over the last 4 years.
Yeah, talk about Cary, North Carolina, and it's at the USA Baseball Training Center there in Cary. When I had the privilege of participating in it, it was in Montgomery, Alabama. I had been there for a number of years, but having it at a facility like this in North Carolina and the support that you guys are getting, it's really a tremendous experience for the athletes.
Yeah, it sure is, and obviously that's the number one goal of everything that we do is the student-athlete experience. And I think the NCAA was criticized early on for moving it from Montgomery because it had been there for so long. Pretty much the Division II Omaha. And when they decided not to bid again and to serve as host, Cary welcomed us with open arms. USA Baseball, David Perkins, Paul Seiler, the CEO, Eric Mormon, they just have been more than gracious, and they do a super job of putting on this event. And it has the support. If you would have been here for year one and seen what the support was last year, we were sold out for the championship game, and it's a perfect-sized venue where the experience is it's just really neat what they do here.
It's there's always been this sort of with baseball, and I've been involved with Division II for almost 23 years now, that a lot of northern schools, because of the weather, they don't get out early enough. The southern schools have an advantage. And it was really nice to see last year my alma mater winning the national championship. And this type of tournament with the regional teams and then going to a national tournament really opens it up for any team anywhere in the country to win this.
You know what? It sure does, and you know, it's a testament to the student athletes and the institutions that are involved, and the commitment that they show towards their baseball program. And boy, you're right. When teams get down here, you know, usually there's some very early favorites, which you know. Typically, they're from the southeast, which you would expect. But because of regionalization now and the expansion that has occurred in Division II, it's really kind of leveled out the playing field on a regional basis. And when you get to this point of the year and you get to this tournament, and I don't like to call it a tournament anymore because it's really an event. When you get to this event, it is literally up for grabs, because obviously to advance to the regional with an 8-team bracket or a 6-team bracket and make your way through, you're playing pretty good baseball, and hopefully your arms survive.
You know, what I liked about the baseball, my experience with the Westchester team back about 7 years ago, what I really liked about that experience was, unlike when you get into the NCAA tournament with like basketball, where you're one and done, that the athletes, you come in kind of the day before, you practice, all of a sudden you have a game, you're eliminated, and you go home. It's almost like you're never there. But with this one, these teams are coming in early, and then at the very least they're getting 2 games that are spread over sometimes 4 days. So it's usually a minimum 4 or 5 days that they're there, so they get to absorb that experience. Is that what you see?
Absolutely, and you're exactly right. It's not a one-and-done situation, and you know, teams that have got off to a poor start and lost game 1, they've proven that they can come back and get in a championship game and even win it. So it does make it for a much better experience, not only for the student-athletes, for the fans, for the parents, for the alumni, everybody involved. And you know, a lot of that is due to how this tournament is run and the people that run this tournament. And I'll be honest with you, when I get here, it's great, because all the hard work, we can just kind of sit back and watch games. The only thing we have to worry about is weather, which we always do. But you're exactly right. There's a lot to do in this area, obviously. Right now, the ACC tournament, I've already been to 2 games in the ACC tournament. Regionals, North Carolina and North Carolina State are both going to be hosting the regional. So there's a lot to do for the kids and a lot to see.
It's let's talk a little bit about the process and the selection process of teams. And I'm not gonna. It's not about you know, why one team got in over another team. And I understand this, and I'd like you to explain to the listeners that a lot of people see these national polls that are done by like the ABCA or by sports information, you know, baseball writers. And those polls are good PR polls, but when the NCAA at Division II level selects, it's really based on strength of schedule and in your region, isn't it?
Well, yes and no, and you're exactly correct. All of the coaches' polls, the writers' polls, I'm not saying that those don't mean anything, but because certainly they do to those schools that are involved. But when it comes down to selection, they mean 0. And we have 8 pieces of criteria that we look at, none of which are weighted, and all count the same. And we spend a lot of time really looking inside of numbers. You know, we are criticized at times for just looking at the 8 pieces of criteria, and you know what? This team won 5, this team won 3, so we give it to the team that won 5. That's not how we do it. We really dive inside the number, and if you're looking at in-region wins and losses, who did they play? Who did they lose to? What was their strength of schedule in region, and what was their opponent's strength of schedule? And there's so much more to it. And really, we have, I know during my time on the national committee and as serving as chair, my main goal has been to try to educate administrators and coaches of the process, because as you can imagine, when a team does not get in, they feel that they understand the selection process, but when you talk to them, they're like, ooh, I didn't know that. And so it is difficult for us, because that lack of education that there has been over the last few years since this process was was implemented.
It's funny. I'm glad you said it that way in terms of educating people, because having the opportunity to serve on regional committees, the people on those committees do a lot of work. It's not just like they randomly get stuff and just check off names. There's a lot of work that goes involved, and they take it very seriously because they know it's the difference between an opportunity for one team, a bunch of student athletes, and an opportunity that's not going to happen for another.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and it's something that is I'm a baseball guy. I played college baseball. I played professional baseball, and baseball has been a part and will continue to be a part of my life. And this has been very important to me. And one of my tasks was to make sure that we all remain very consistent on how we look at the information that we're given. This committee has done a very, very good job to a man of not only representing their region, but representing the NCAA. And really, the process is very fluid. It's not perfect, as you know, with your experience. It's something that is going to change over the course of time, and it's all about how you present the information to coaches and administrators so they can get an understanding, so they can explain to their kids, hey, we need to win the next 2 out of 3. Even though we think that we're in, we've got to win this series because here's what's affected.
I've often, when I've looked at it and I've explained to coaches, even when I wasn't on committees, but sometimes people are surprised where a team is ranked one week, they may win games, they drop. They may lose games, they jump. And there's so many factors that go in. I tell them that it really is a fluid situation from week to week because of all the factors. So the best thing to do is just go out and win.
Yeah, it really is. And the biggest criticism that we get is, okay, we have a team that's number 1 in the region, but is 4th in their division in conference play. We don't look at conference play at all. We used to have that as a piece of the criteria, and I was a big advocate of taking it out because of scheduling and how conference gets work. But it is a very difficult process, and you have to go into understanding that not everybody is going to be happy. You have to remain consistent. And that's something that we feel that we've done every year. And sometimes it's tough to explain that to coaches and hard for them to understand. But it has to be that way. And I know that it will continue to.
And ultimately, you have to make a decision. You only have so many slots. Can you talk about the way the tournament is structured now and explain how this works for those listening? Because in the Pac West right now, we started baseball just a couple of years ago, and now we've grown till we have 10 teams, and ultimately we'll get an automatic qualifier here in the next couple of years. But baseball is one of our newer sports, and it's really grown in our conference.
Oh, absolutely. This tournament is a little bit different. It's not a true 8-team double elimination tournament. And what I mean by that, and this is something that we had our national meetings yesterday, and it's something that drew a lot of discussion, was should we in fact look at changing the format of this tournament? It is an 8-team bracket. The thing that is odd is after your second game, the two pieces of the bracket kind of flop. Not real sure since I've been here. I've never been given a real clear answer as to why we do that, because it does create some problems with fans and following, and fortunately we have brackets everywhere, so they can do it. But the problem with the bracket that we have from a committee's perspective is you can have a team that has 1 loss and a team that has no losses, obviously, reach the championship game, and that team with the 1 loss can win that 1 game and win the national championship. To a man in our committee, we would like to see that go to an if game, possibly, or possibly a 2 out of 3 series. So that's what we're working on.
Is if you didn't flip in the bracket, if you didn't flip it, would you always get to the point where you would have? I guess not. I guess somebody could still have a loss at the end, and somebody could be undefeated.
That is correct. That is correct.
So that's interesting. I guess I always wondered that myself, but I often wondered if they were trying to set it up to have 1 championship game so they could broadcast it or have something set. But
well, you know what? You're exactly right, Tom. TV has played a role in this, and we no longer broadcast, the CBS no longer broadcasts this game live, which is, for example, why we moved the game last year to a 7 o'clock in order to get the support from the local community and everybody else. And like I said, we sold out. But we certainly, if we went to a best-of-3 series in the championship or an if game, it's something that we could probably broadcast, delay, and if there was on TV.
Oh. Well, Jim, I know things get underway. The games get underway, I guess, Saturday. Grand Canyon gets underway Sunday. And we really appreciate you taking the time. I know it's really hectic for you guys down there. And it's great because the Pac West has really embraced baseball. Its fans. It was about 3 years into the conference that we started this, and it's just been terrific. And now to have a team from the conference get this far, it shows from our conference how good the baseball is and how good it is in the West.
Absolutely, and we certainly appreciate your support of the championship here in Cary, and I'd be glad to talk to you anytime, and best of luck to Grand Canyon. I know they're excited. I've been there, actually. Our basketball team played in a tournament down there, so I'm familiar with the area, familiar with their play, so it'll be great to see them here at the national tournament.
That sounds great. Jim, thanks for joining us. Jim Gibbons, the chair of the NCAA Division II Baseball Committee, also Associate AD at University of Findlay in Ohio. And now we're going to talk to Keith Baker here from Grand Canyon University, and we appreciate Jim coming on. And like I said, a lot of people don't realize that when you're looking at the selections and the regionalization, where NCAA Division I, they pull from all over the country, teams at the Division II level are for a lot of different reasons, are bracketed into different regions. And in the West, it's the Great Northwest Athletic Conference, the Pac West, and the CCAA in California. And that's where, for all sports, for all the team sports, that's where the regional region starts. Joining us now, Keith Baker, the athletic director at Grand Canyon University. Keith, welcome to Pac West Radio. Did we lose Keith? Let's try it again. I think he lost Keith. Well, we'll try to get Keith back. I think Keith is actually at the NCAA Division II Track and Field Championships before he heads out to North Carolina. Those are wrapping up. I think they start today and wrap up on Saturday. And I'm guessing Keith is going to go from the Track and Field Championships right out to North Carolina for the Division II National Championships. But again, baseball, really exciting, terrific sport. This year, Dixie State and Grand Canyon both made it to the regional. Yes. Dixie hosted it, and then Grand Canyon ended up winning it. Okay. So joining us now is Keith Baker, the athletic director at Grand Canyon University. Keith, welcome to Pac West Radio.
Hey, thanks very much, Tom.
So Keith, let's talk about it. Right now, you're at the Track and Field Championships?
Yes, in fact, here in beautiful Pueblo, Colorado. CSU Pueblo hosting, and for Grand Canyon, at least, our first event is about ready to get underway here within the hour. You're already won some of our latest pole vaulters.
So you're going, after you're done, I'm assuming you're going to head to Cary, North Carolina from Pueblo?
Yes, that looks like the plan. Going to try to get out of here on Saturday night late and get in time. We play the last game of the first round in baseball, so hopefully I'll be able to get there in time for that one.
Keith, I know this is your last year with the conference, but for the Pac West and for Grand Canyon, for you guys to get to the national championship tournament in baseball is a huge, huge deal for the Pac West and the level of competition in our conference, isn't it?
Well, you know what? Baseball is one of those sports to where a lot of teams play well at points during the course of the year. And in a tournament scenario, if your pitchers can get hot, your hitters can hit in a timely manner, and you play good defense, you have a chance. And in tournament play, that's basically what happens. But I think that when you look overall at the competition that we have at the Pac West all year long, it was great preparation for us and really set us up pretty well. So we were very, very excited to be in the position that we're in and look forward to representing the Pac West as well as possible.
it was interesting when you played in the regional. You guys had lost what, 6 out of 7, I think, to Dixie State during the year, and then were matched up against them at their place in the first round, and you came out right away and won, and that seemed to set the tone for you guys for the tournament.
And you know what? When the parents were announced, one of the things when I got a chance to speak, all our kids got together to watch the selection show. And one of the things that I had told them was that, your series against Dixie during the year, you played a lot better than the total series result shows. Many of those games went right down to the wire, either into the last at bat for one of the other teams. And so I said, you know what, you short end of the stick for a good period of time, but that doesn't mean you have to be going forward. And I said, I think it's going to be good for us as we move into that. I think it'll be a good situation. The kids came out extremely positive. Coaching staff did a great job of mentally preparing them for the situation. And we did. We had a little bit of a break as as Dixie pitching struggled a little bit in that initial inning, and it kind of helped get us off to a good start.
The one game, I believe, was against Sonoma that you guys were down, I think, probably in that last inning, and you got a runner on base, and then there was, I think, an error that kept the inning alive, or helped keep the inning alive, and then suddenly you loaded the bases and got 2 of the timely hits that you talked about. One of your players, Paul Panaccione, had a terrific series, but that was a catalyst, because then you had to come back and beat Chico State twice, which is really hard to do on that last day. And you guys really had dominating pitching and the timely hitting, as you said.
Well, and that boy, Panaccione, and boy, you could go through a list of kids from our baseball team that really stepped up at one time or another during the course of that tournament. Everywhere from Charles Wagner to the pitching staff, especially when you look at the numbers that they put up through the course of the week against very, very staunch competition in the West region. It was very, very impressive. But I think the kids stayed pretty level-headed and to the task at hand, and it was a very, very pleasurable thing to see for them.
Keith, and you've been with, obviously, Grand Canyon, a number of roles over the years for a long time, but you played baseball there, didn't you, at Grand Canyon?
Yes, I was there during the NAIA years when I participated, and had a lot of fun doing that, and we were a regular in the the NAIA national finals for many, many years, and in actuality, we were looking at it. This is as far as we've been in a baseball postseason tournament since our final year in the NAIA back in 89-90.
How is this for you, not just as an AD, but as an alum and as an alum of the baseball team? How excited are you personally about being able to compete at this level now?
Oh, you know what? It's a lot of fun. There were a lot of the texts and emails going around from guys from many years past that were saying that it's good to see Canyon baseball back, and it's one of those things that kind of draws people together. And for me personally, I've always taken great pride in going in and talking to the student athletes with all of our teams. But it's always kind of special when you go in, because having played baseball and being able to talk to them about the history and tradition of the program. So very, very satisfying to see them back in national championship competition.
Is Grand Canyon typically has sent contingents to a lot of places where there were championships. Very supportive, one of the best supported institutions in the Pac West. Are you guys sending? Are there a lot of people going from Grand Canyon out to the tournament?
We've had some alum groups and parent groups and some others that have tried to put some stuff together. One of the things that we're very big on trying to promote our students going to things, but the school's out, and so we don't have any very many students on campus right now. So that does cut into it just a little bit, and it's not quite as easy to get to Cary, North Carolina, as it is to maybe the Pac West tournaments in Southern California. So we don't have a big contingent heading out there from the university-supported area, but we're looking forward to what those that are, the phone calls that I've gotten from parents and other supporters that are coming in. A former SID of ours who works in Virginia is coming down, and So we're looking for some reunion time as well.
It's a great alumni building, and when you want to ask for those donations down the line, it's always a great sort of place to do that. I had the opportunity to participate in that as an administrator from Westchester about 6-7 years ago, and what I really liked about it, and Jim Givens was just on, and we were talking about it, and I kind of want to get your take on it. When you play in a basketball tournament, if you go to an NCAA and you lose that first day, it's like you come in the day before, you practice, you eat, you go to the hotel, you get up, you play. If you lose, you go home. This, you're guaranteed basically at least 4 days there. So your athletes, your student athletes, get that experience.
Well, and that is the nice thing. You know, I was just talking to Tom Flood a little bit, our track coach here in Pueblo, and they always, all the coaches love that. They say, you know, we love the opportunity with baseball is you get that little bit of a second chance. You know, you're allowed the one bump in the road, and then still try to come back from that if you need to. So, yes, the added opportunity to stay around and to experience the town of Cary, the facilities there at the National Training Center is going to be a good deal for the kids that are there, especially for our young kids.
Well, last year I had a vested interest. My alma mater won it, being a northern school. This year, we'd love to see Grand Canyon. It would give me 2 for 2 and rooting for teams to win the Division II championship.
Well, we will do our very best. So keep rooting for us, and hopefully it comes out well.
Keith, if people want to listen to the games, I think, is Mike Potter doing the games for you guys?
Michael's going to do some audio. They'll also see video available through the NCAA. So just check gculopes.com, and there'll be all the links there as to where you can catch up-to-date game information.
Keith, we wish you the best of luck, and we hope you can find a flight from Pueblo, Colorado to Cary, North Carolina, but I know you'll make it.
I'm counting on it. So.
All right. Thanks, Keith. Keith Baker, AD at Grand Canyon University, and he'll log a lot of miles here over the next couple of days, and as long as Grand Canyon keeps winning. So, again, just a reminder, Grand Canyon University will be playing. You can check out gculopes.com or check out the PacWest website at thepacwest.com. We'll have links to the games, the audio and the video broadcast of those games that will start Sunday at the NCAA Division II National Baseball Championship. So, for Joe Carrero, I'm Tom DiCamillo. Joe will be on by phone next week from Newport Beach live as we talk about more of our awards. And also want to, again, a shout-out to Costa Rica. And just remember, you're listening to PacWest Radio live on KQCK in Santan Valley, Arizona, and at Jaco Beach, Costa Rica.
Hi, this is Daniel.